Nice.
Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of Always Making, as they're making fun of me before we got started here.
As is correct and proper.
Thanks for joining us again here in the basement as we talk to awesome, cool, local Utah and greater Utah, Salt Lake City area. I was saying that all wacky and everything, but yeah, makers, creators, artists, and people we meet at awesome maker shows and stuff that we do on the weekends. And we love sharing their stories. So thanks for joining us again. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. And if you guys have any people you know or suggest that might be great for the show and have a conversation, please let them know about us. And we love to hear their stories. But we are joined today in studio with Mika from Honey Tea Hive. Got it right. I was practicing before, guys. I was trying before the cameras rolled. I knew I was going to get it wrong again. Honey Tea Hive. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're going to get into conversation about all the cool, awesome stuff you do around tea here in the Salt Lake area for us. But before we do, we got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. We are, the day this releases on the Friday, we are going to be June 22nd. June 22nd. Man, I'm getting everything wrong.
We didn't
today,
get enough
guys.
sleep last night. It's okay.
June 22nd. Yeah. June 22nd, we're at the SLC Punk Flea Market on Sunday. And then on June 29th, we'll be up at Brighton for the BCC Flea. And then we got accepted into StickerCon, guys. I swear I did not bribe Copper High Vintage. We got accepted.
It's just a coincidence. She was on the show and we're in the market. I don't know how it happened.
But that is July 6th. We're super excited to be part of StickerCon. So come out and check out all the cool artists that will be there. There's going to be a crap ton of stickers to choose from.
Be so fun.
Such a fun event. Yeah. And then we've also got DIY Fest. We've got another Brighton show in July as well. And then DIY Fest.
In
August. I know, but the
8th,
dates.
9th, 10th.
Thank you. Okay.
This is only like the third episode that you've been doing that.
I know. I knew I was going to get it wrong again, but I think that's everything we got going on. There's some new stuff in the Etsy shop. I think maybe possibly.
No, probably not.
Oh, the big news for you. Yeah, sorry.
I got accepted into the 1330 Design Collective Market and Fashion Show that is going to be at Mill Creek in September. I am so excited. I'm creating all new pieces, one of a kind, unique, upcycled clothing and accessories for this market. So I am very excited. Make sure you are putting that in your calendars for September.
And so also we completed Maker's Mart at Mill Creek Common just before, a couple weeks before this episode. And that's where we met Mika and everything. And she was suggested by Sarah from Charm Mountain. And so one of our previous episodes, if you guys go back, I think that's like episode 6, maybe
early.
episode 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're very early on. But we, DIY Fest, we met Sarah. She had a booth right across from us. And so Christy loves soap and got into the whole conversation with her.
Well, and I also met her through Rebecca, who was another episode.
There you go.
Yeah, because we were in the sewing group together. So,
but thank you guys, everyone who came out to support. We had such a great time. The show was very successful for us. All the artists that were there, everyone we talked to seemed to have great time with it. Mika will get a little bit into your whole event there and how that all went for you. But that is housekeeping. Little interruption there. We're back at it, but we were just getting wrapping up. Thank you guys for attending the show, visiting, saying hi, all the support that came through. Mika, we met you there through Charm Mountain. I think I mentioned that before we edit the cut and everything.
That's okay.
But yeah, previous episodes, we're excited to have people starting to suggest new, cool, fun faces that we haven't met. But the cool thing about what you do is tea. That's a whole new world we haven't played in on this podcast yet. Okay. We have no one else doing tea or anything. For a brief moment, I did work in the coffee industry. So I have a little bit of that hot drink background, and
I hate coffee, but I love tea.
All right.
So it's perfect.
I want to talk about, because you've got all kinds of fun stuff you're doing with tea. You're not just doing market selling tea. You are doing a whole wide variety, all based around tea. But I want to know how it all got started for you.
Okay. So I would say my fascination with tea got started when I was really young. In Utah, it's kind of like taboo to have your kids drink coffee and tea, too young. But in the Chinese culture, children drink tea all the time. And they're not drinking it to like get caffeinated. It's just a very, common and pleasant drink for people to enjoy. And people drink tea with almost every single meal. My family's from Taiwan. And so visiting back in the motherland, I guess. It was just everyone would offer tea everywhere we go. And so I guess I didn't know that I had a huge knowledge base about tea until I realized how many people didn't know about what tea was.
Yeah.
And then I started getting really obsessed with afternoon tea, especially like the culture of it and how that it's observed throughout the entire world. And decided, you know what, I think I could bring something to Utahns that incorporates afternoon tea, but with my tea expertise. And so that's kind of how I got started with it. And so my angle is just more of like bringing people like good tea, based on all the different, probably thousands of cups of tea that I've tried, and just hoping people like what I like.
Okay, so you're being modest here because you are doing some very cool tea parties. Is the thing behind it? You're doing tea lessons, not so you're providing a whole education base behind the thing, and then you're also doing the market side of things. Am I missing anything?
And
else?
monthly tea boxes.
Oh, and monthly
Don't
tea
forget
boxes.
those, like a whole subscription side.
And then,
Yeah, that's true.
And so you're doing a lot than just like sharing tea with me.
You're sweet.
But so going back in your social, it looks like 2019 is when this kind of all got started for you.
Yeah, I mean, like December 2019,
Okay.
which is like, just a few months before
The
the
whole
big,
COVID, yeah.
the thing we don't talk about anymore, right? But everyone talks about. So like launching a catering business before COVID, when you're telling people, hey, everybody, have a tea party, like gather, hang out. And then the government was like,
Don't
heck
gather.
no. Like, don't
Hang
do
out.
that. And I'm like, just kidding. Like, have tea at home by yourself. But somehow figure out how to incorporate like my products and just like the excitement of tea, with other people. And so I kind of revamped my business model from just doing tea parties to these tea boxes. And people were able to pick up curbside these pre-made tea boxes that had sandwiches, scones, desserts, and then a cup of hot tea in the winter and iced tea in the summer. And people started buying them in larger quantities to share with their families and their friends. And so during pandemic, it was just so interesting to see what people would come up with. They would go to the park and have like picnics all like 10 feet apart, right? 6 feet 10 feet apart, or they would drop them off at grandma's and mom's house, and then everyone would just have a Zoom party. And I thought that was just so clever and
That is so
fun.
cute. I love that.
Yeah. And we even actually one of our biggest gigs that we had during pandemic was Netflix. They actually reached out to me because they wanted to do like a tea time with their teams. And so they had me mail little tea experiences to all of their employees.
That's amazing.
And then they just did a big Zoom tea time party.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So
Yeah.
being
That's amazing.
modest with
Yeah.
how big the
Only
tea world is for you.
Netflix.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you don't think about until you're like, oh, I guess I did do that, like.
And well, from being the outsider, we're seeing all the cool things you're doing, and then like once Sarah introduced us, we're like, oh, this is really cool.
Well, and I see her
so-
stories every once a month on a Sunday. She does her like tea box and she'll like share it in her stories. And every time I'm like obsessively looking like, okay, what's in this month's box? I mean, I could just like also join, but I love following along through Sarah and her like stories.
It's just kind of fun. Yeah. Because like on social media, I don't really post things until like a little bit closer to the date. And so people are always kind of like, what's happening? What's going on? But they know it is actually the second Saturday of every month. We do these tea boxes that there's no minimum order for. And it's just, the following is there because like people don't really know like when it's going to be released. But if you sign up for our newsletter on our website, I announce it like weeks in advance so people can like plan for it, or if they're like, oh, we like this menu and we want to get together, they can make an event out of it. So
I love it.
So looking through your social, it's very hard to look through your social because there's so many good looking pieces of like snacks and foods and everything. Are you making all of that stuff?
Yeah. Everything.
Everything is made.
Wow.
There's a variety, like what, hundreds of different things on there.
It seems like it. It does seem like it. Yeah, I mean, I would say that because of what afternoon tea is, it's you kind of have like a taster of everything. So it's not just like if you get like a lunch combo, you get a sandwich and maybe two sides. And then iced tea if you want, right? But afternoon tea, it's a 3-course meal, and every course is kind of like bite-sized or has a certain like tradition to it, right? So you've got like 2, 3, sometimes people choose 4 different types of sandwiches. For the first meal, the second meal, people will do scones with cream and jam. And for the third meal, you've got to have like a plethora, like a little taster of all the different desserts, right? And all of that goes with your tea, right? The tea just goes down so easy with all the food. So
So is there a culinary background that like you, or is this all just like passion project that's now turned into like an everyday like hobby of learning and creating like cool pastries to go with your teas and tasting profiles and stuff like that?
yeah, that is a great question. So I would say I started cooking when I was in high school, like way more than I think what the average high schooler would do.
Through like a home ec class or just personally
Just
cooking?
like at home.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I was like, you know what? I want to make macarons, right? Like the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh, I tried. Oh, they're not.
It's so hard to make.
Yeah.
And my mom, she's an amazing chef. Like she just can cook so much delicious food, and it's not just Chinese food, all different kinds of food. And so I just really grew up with around food that tasted really good. And then also traveling back home to Taiwan, we like Taiwan is known for their food. People go there to eat. So it's
Yeah,
I
we
kind
watched,
of-
I think, multiple episodes of Jolly on YouTube, like in Taiwan. I was like, ooh.
you guys need to go.
Yeah.
You guys
I mean,
need to go check it out.
food is one of those things for us that like we love. Like that's
Yeah.
usually like our anniversary like dates or like vacations or like what are all
any
the hole in the wall
occasion.
food places we can find? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, and then so I lived in a bunch of different places and just love trying food, and also afternoon tea time for
Sorry.
for no, you're good. Afternoon tea time for like how each person kind of expresses it. But when I moved back to Utah, I started writing for Devour magazine as a food journalist, and I got to interview a bunch of different restaurants, food trucks, different entrepreneurs that had food businesses, and I got to try a lot of different really great food. And so for me to want to start a food business, I was kind of at a tipping point in my life where I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know what kind of business to start. And so being able to like interview and write about all these different food businesses kind of just tipped me over in that direction. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I jumped into it. And everything that I know is self-taught.
That's amazing.
Yeah. There's some amazing looking things on
Yes.
that
Oh, thanks.
like social that
Yes.
I'm like, oh man, like we missed that one. Like, okay, will that come back around again? Can we try that? But I do
Absolutely. Well, and also, what's funny is that people in the kitchen, I share a kitchen space with another company, and they're always like, "Oh, that looks really good," and I'm like, "Yes, it looks cute. Everything has to look really cute before it gets sent out."
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, that's really great that it's like you didn't feel like there was a block or anything that's saying, hey, I can't do this because I'm not at this level kind of thing. You've been able to exceed that, and people have been able to grow your business because of you just taking that passion and drive to create something that you're really passionate about. The process, like, so I'm completely ignorant in your process and everything. So
That's okay.
tea wise, every month is new tea. Is that what you're coming up with? And so how are you coming up with your, like, hey, I'm going to put this tea with this tasting profiles each month? What is your process to kind of come up with that?
Yeah. So to create our tea menu, that was a lot of experimenting, trial and error, and then just kind of seeing what the customers here in Utah prefer. I would say like palette wise, there's people who absolutely love tea and know a ton about tea, and then there's the people that know absolutely nothing about tea and want it to taste like juice. So we've got the stuff that's like really, really good for like the complex palate, and then we've got some really basic stuff. But I would say they're all really good, because some of the places that I source from are directly from Asia. And so you hear these like tea farmers' stories and like their processes, and you get to meet some of these people. And it's so inspiring, and you get to try their stuff, and you just kind of like understand their story, like based on these like flavors that you're trying. And tea is just so interesting because it's kind of like wine with like grapes and varietals. And like the environment when it was grown, like what side of the mountain, how much sun there was that year, like that all matters and goes into these tea leaves and creates different flavors.
Well, and like when it's like harvested or picked too, right? Because I think like white tea is really just like really young tea leaves, if I'm remembering that correctly. And then like depends on like
it's unprocessed. White tea's unprocessed. It's just like plucked and dried. And so that's why like those flavors are really delicate. And when you're steeping it, the temperature can't be too high. And when you look at like the color profile, it's really, really light. And the flavors that come out, if you can taste them, they're actually really strong, like variety of flavors, but like the whole thing is very delicate. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's so great.
So for people who are getting one of your boxes or picking up a tea from you, what is their best way to brew that tea? Oh, is brewing the right word? I'm using coffee terms in mind, but is that okay?
Brewing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So,
brewing or steeping.
Oh, steeping.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that proper way for some of those? Is there like each month going to be slightly different, and is it a whole education process to it?
So I would say if you are interested in ordering like the monthly tea party boxes, to answer your first question, we actually go through just the menu that we have and see which ones pair a little bit better with the sandwiches and the desserts that we have. But we want people to try all the different kinds, and we always offer like a caffeinated tea and an uncaffeinated tea for people's personal preferences. And so there isn't a lot of science with that one. It's also just because we've been doing this for the tea boxes consistently. We've been doing it for 4 years. We kind of repeat the same menus every year. So if you liked a box that was last June, then this June it's probably going to be the same menu, but you didn't get to have that for a whole year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of have to wait for the same menu to come back around. And I would say like what the number of teas on the menu, there isn't like a whole, like some places I've been to, there's like 50 teas and you're just like, wow, there's so much variety here. And you don't know which one to choose because it's like analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah.
It's
Just
overwhelming.
Yes, exactly. So we try to keep ours short, but if there's like a special party, if like a catering like order has prepared us far in advance, where I'm totally willing to like source like a specific request too. So but for like the lessons, I would say those are more of like private lessons that people book. And so the learning piece is, if you ask me, I will answer for like typical things. But for the lesson, it's like an hour to an hour and a half. And we go into like the history. We go into like what tea leaves are, how to brew it, like benefits, like health benefits of tea. And then I get to like steep tea for you so that you can try. And we go through like a whole sensory experience, like sight, smell, taste, and like kind of like mouthfeel too, like texture. And so that's really fun. But the monthly tea boxes, they actually come brewed so that it's brewed the way that I would like it. And I like tea strong. So people are like, wow, I've never had tea like yours. I didn't think I liked tea until I tried your tea. And I'm like, maybe it was watered down or maybe you didn't make it right. And so Yeah. And so there is an opening to learning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for people who are curious.
So tea boxes that got you through COVID and all the pandemic, then opened back up, and now there's tea parties now happening as well with the business. So what was the reasoning to get actually out there and start doing like tea parties? What was that thought process behind that?
Yeah. So I would say I wanted to bring like a customized tea party experience to people. And sometimes when you're going to a place, it's a lot of times it's booked out or it's not, you can't customize it the way you want. Most of the time, tea time is a set menu and you show up and you just get what you get. And maybe you get to choose one or two things and that's it. But if people who want something a little bit more customized for their baby showers, for their bridal showers, for their mom's birthday, you can choose all the types of sandwiches that you want. You can choose a flavor of scone that you would like. You can choose however many desserts or however little desserts you want because there's a lot of really good sugar options in Utah, right? And so, and I just tried to make it as custom and like fitting for your event as possible. And so I think that is like the fun part. We do like different options. So like we'll do takeout if you're like, I just want to do my own thing. And I don't want you to set anything up for me because I have like this vision and I want to do my own party. Then we'll make all the food. You don't have to cut the crust off of any sandwiches, right? Sometimes people want to do picnic boxes. And so then they don't, you don't have to like do any dishes or anything. Everyone just gets a single serving box and that box, you just throw everything away when you're done. So like really easy cleanup. And then we do like the full setup tea parties where you get the tiered trays, the teapots, the teacups, the tiny little forks and the tiny little spoons and like the little sugar cubes, right? And so if you're like, I want you to do everything, we can absolutely bring everything to you. But there's lots of different levels that we can provide as a catering business.
What has been one of the more standout experiences you had throwing one of these tea parties?
What's the biggest, craziest tea party you've ever thrown?
Oh man, it's so hard to say. Just because like sometimes people want like a lot, and then sometimes people want a little bit, but like it's very custom. So let's see.
Is there like the full get up and dress up and everything?
There was one I did recently for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
I was gonna mention it.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah. But that's all I can say because I signed an NDA.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably can't talk about it.
Yeah, that's all I can say because it hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
But season 6 coming out, I guess. Hopefully I'm in it.
Hopefully, yeah.
We'll see.
It's not the cutting room floor. It makes it to the
exactly.
TV, yeah.
But that was like we were on set and that was wild. I was just like, wow, this is quite a setup. Like,
full production.
Yes, full production. And so I was like, you know what? It was like a goal that I never knew I had. Right?
Yeah.
When the opportunity presented itself, I was like, wait, yes, I have to do this now.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I guess the other group I have to do is the Secret Lives of Modern Wives. So, I got to get them both. So,
Yeah.
Hey, check me out. If you want to do a tea party. Yeah.
Yeah, after the other one airs, the other one's going to be jealous and be giving you a call. I'm like,
Right.
we need a
And
tea
how we
party
gotta
too.
do it.
Right. Exactly. Mhm.
That's crazy. Yeah, Christy knew that little fact. I didn't
see
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if she can talk about it.
Yeah, that was crazy. It's just out of the blue too.
Yeah.
We also did like a tea party for like exclusive elite Delta Sky Miles people. It was like the top of the top of the top from what I was told.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so people showed up and they had like a $500 shopping spree to this boutique that was being hosted at. There was like a caricature person, there was a photo booth, and then they could like have a tea party, and they ordered so much food. It was crazy. I think they only ate like 25% of the food.
Oh my
That's
God.
how much food they had.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We're Sky Miles members. They should have invited us.
You need to keep flying. Go
Keep
your
flying,
way up
get
there.
it.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to know what have been some of the reactions you've gotten from people that maybe first time tea drinkers or like not as like big into tea and kind of like that wow factor that you get? Like, what are some of those reactions that kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, when especially at markets, when I used to do like the brewed or steeped drinks, people, oh, I'm not a tea drinker, or oh, I don't like tea. That just tastes like watered down, sticks. And I'm like,
Wrong tea.
Yeah. You're not having good tea
you
then.
know, yeah, yeah. And also to each their own. I don't really want to argue with people. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
maybe you should try a
Next
different
booth.
kind.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But for people that haven't tried, either they're really curious about it or they want me to prove them wrong. Like show me what you know kind
Yeah.
of thing. Right. The people who don't like tea and don't want to talk about tea, they just kind of like stay away. They just kind of, oh, don't make eye contact and hope she doesn't follow me. Right. Yeah. But I think that people, their curiosity gets a little bit piqued, and when they try it, most of the time they like it. Also, because tea can be so versatile, you can add sugar to it, you can add milk to it, you can have it hot, you can have it iced, so you can blend it with, some people can do tea infused juices. We do these tea infused lemonades. So we do Arnold Palmer's, we do a raspberry hibiscus lemonade, and we do a lavender lemonade. And they are actually in these pouches that look like Capri Suns, which are super fun. And we currently sell them at Central 9th Market. And I was like, wow, this is like a really popular drink. And they're like, yeah, you know why? Because everyone just mixes it. It's a mixer. And I was like, that's great. Let's do this. So
Never would have thought of that.
Gastronomic SLC, they wrote an article about the tea infused lemonades and local distillery, like
To do some mixers with
that's
it.
like what to mix
hilarious.
with what.
Yeah.
Which was so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would not have thought of like tea, like lemonade to mix as a mixer.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever think your like experience with tea would go to like these places kind of thing?
Absolutely not. People get so creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're taking me on a ride. Yeah.
You're just along for the journey.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to ask the hard-hitting questions.
Uh-oh.
How filled is your pantry with tea?
Oh no. That's a terrible
Your
question.
private tea collection. Like how much are we talking?
So I would say for tea tins, I probably have about 30 tea tins
Okay.
in my pantry. And then in my garage, I probably have, the bins with the yellow lid that you get from
The
Costco.
ones we have right behind you with all our loaded
2 of those full
of teas.
of tea.
Okay, that's not that terrible considering it's your business.
Really?
And-
But I'm like, that seems like a lot of tea.
But you gotta like make sure you've got flavors on hand to like try and like imagine you're doing your research at home and trying different teas.
True.
and-
And how blending, right?
Mhm, exactly.
How many
I give you credit.
times a
That's-
day do
that's
you
not
drink
bad.
tea?
I would say 1 to 2 times.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to start off my day with tea, and then at the end of the day, like if you have like indigestion or like tummy issues, peppermint tea is really great. If I'm feeling a little under the weather, a ginger tea is really good. If I'm like really hyped up, maybe I drink caffeine a little bit too late, drink a chamomile tea, and that kind of puts you down. So it's like, it really just kind of helps you with your mood too, based on what you're going for. So, and the reason why I don't have like way more tea than you think, it's because like, how much tea do you put in a cup?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's
but
like a little over a teaspoon.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you think of like,
That's
That's
why I'm
a
like
lot of
I'm like
cups.
think that's a lot of
That's a lot
tea.
of cups
Yeah.
of tea.
Because it's constantly getting restocked too, because you're constantly using it and bringing in new.
But then a new
stuff.
tea comes along, you gotta try it. You gotta get the whole tin or whatever they're selling, like whole bag. It's like they're just gonna give you like one. So.
yeah.
I
If you
get it.
guess
I'm
that
an enabler. I get it. Get more tea.
I love it. Well, I mean, I think guests that come to my house, they know that I'm going to offer them tea, and so that's maybe how I cycle through a little bit faster, because I make teapots full for when people are visiting. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite tea, or is that like seasonal as well? That kind of changes for you?
I would say, yeah, it changes just because there's so much you can try.
Mhm.
Why just stick with one, you know?
Mhm.
In the wintertime, I like more like spices. So like a masala chai tea is like really great. And chai actually means tea. So I said tea,
Tea.
just so you know.
Mhm.
But that's just the American way, right?
True.
Yeah. And then like in the springtime and the summertime, like the more fruity citrus light stuff, green teas are a little bit more preferred for me. But yeah, also like caffeine content too, right? Like if I am like needing a little bit more of a pick me up, I will go with like a black tea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My go-to is usually like a Ceylon or an oolong black tea. And those go really great with like a cube of sugar, or I like to do some oat milk in there too.
Yeah, I'm a cream in my tea guy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I like milky tea, and so I'm there's very few like non-milky teas that I don't like that I go to kind of thing.
Yeah,
But-
I'm usually just like a little teaspoon of honey
Oh,
if it needs to be sweeter. Otherwise,
Yes.
I rarely add anything to my teas. But yeah.
I love good honey,
Yeah.
agave too.
Mm.
So good. I think my biggest thing when I was growing up in the States was boba. Do you guys
Okay,
like
yeah.
boba?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alcohol? Yeah, and so there's like a lot of milk teas
Yeah.
that
Well,
they
they went
make.
through like a big phase in the like early 2000s. I feel like.
I think our high
Or,
school
like,
era it seemed like every
yeah.
week we were getting
Yeah.
boba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was like and several boba shops had like opened
Yeah.
up in the area, and it was like
Love
Yeah.
it. Love
Yeah.
it. Wow. And I feel like there was kind of a big boom in the last few years here
Yeah.
in Salt Lake City. And there were just like so many opening up and then so many shut down.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like I mean, it seems like with any of the trend spots that
Yes.
like the good and quality ones kind of outlast the like quick get rich like kind of
Yeah.
trends. We talk about that all the time. Don't chase the trends because like you're just gonna end up broke chasing the trends kind of thing. Unless you are really
and or
passionate.
burnt out.
Yeah, or burnt out kind of thing.
Gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless you're really passionate about what you're doing, you're going to put a lot of time and effort into like what you love to do, and that's what's really going to thrive through most of that stuff.
Mhm.
I had friends, we were talking about a chicken place we were eating for lunch today, and it's like it survived the pandemic, and it's like they really do chicken well kind of thing, so you just keep going back
Yeah.
getting chicken from them. But it's food industry is not the easiest industry to
Yeah.
like last a long time.
Yeah, well, just the margins are so small and it's so competitive. Like
Yeah.
there's so many options out there. Why would I choose, this specific one, right?
Well, I want to talk about that because going to markets and
Mhm.
selling your stuff at markets, there's not a lot of tea people at markets. I think
We've seen a few.
that's I was
Yeah.
gonna say we've come across a couple at a few shows very sporadically.
Mhm.
So like, what was the choice or what was the decision to go? Hey, I'm gonna go put myself out in some of these like farmer markets and like art markets and stuff like that.
Yeah. Actually, the most that I get out of these markets is networking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get to meet
And
other
we're here.
right here we are, right? I get to meet other makers and I get to meet other people that work these shows and then the word just kind of gets out like, oh, there was this tea person. What was that business again? Like, because there's not too many options, then I become the go-to person,
Yeah.
Mhm.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and really, tea is such a niche market that the people who love tea will always buy the tea, right?
Mhm.
And that is, I'm talking about myself,
Yeah.
but I think that is the case for a lot of tea lovers, is because it's hard to find good tea.
Mhm.
I mean, you go to the store and you're like Celestial Seasonings or Lipton, or, and I'm not to bash on those because they are cheap and quick and
They serve a purpose.
Yes, right. They do serve their purpose. But if you want to like variety, elevate your palate a little bit, going to these like tea specialty places is just like a whole nother level.
Mhm.
I feel like. Mhm.
So that you bring up a good point, because I'm going like from my experience in the coffee world, there is Folgers and like your 7-Eleven easy quick 50 cents dollar cup of coffee kind of thing, and then there's places that you're getting a $10-12 cup of coffee, not because it's skyrocketed with sugars and caramels and all these other like added, it's just a quality roast,
Right,
and
like
a quality bean.
Arabica from
Yeah, from
like
these regions,
these
different stuff.
regions,
Exactly.
right? Mhm.
So what is like I guess education wise, what would be a good starting point for someone to get, if they want to look at getting a higher quality tea, like what kind of investment are they making into a higher quality tea than what you just get on the shelf at your local grocery store?
Sure. So like a tea bag at the local grocery store, they can be like 10, 15, 20 cents per bag. And so it's like a pretty cheap and quick way to get your tea. The higher quality teas would be considered loose leaf tea. And these teas actually are based, the pricing is based off of like where it's grown and how large the tea leaf is. Because the tea leaf, if you have like the whole leaf, you get like all parts. Like you got the stem, and then there's like the different parts of the leaf, and that is what creates the complex flavors. So there's like different ratings of like sizes of tea leaves. There's broken, fanning, and dust. Broken is just like tea leaves that are like as large as possible. Sometimes they get a little bit broken in the process of like withering and oxidizing or fermentation. But those are like usually the largest leaves, and they're loose leaf, and they are like long and they are curly. But when you steep it, you get these like big leaves, and the flavor is just so amazing. And then you go into fannings, which is like a little bit smaller, and you'll see more of these in tea bags that are, you get like kind of like that silky pyramid ones. Have you guys seen those? Yeah. So the reason why those tea bags are a little more expensive is because the space in those pyramids, it gives the tea leaf enough space to expand when it absorbs the water.
Okay.
And then you get dust. So if you were to think of like someone who is collecting the top tier, the broken leaves, and then whatever doesn't get doesn't fall into falls through the sifter, then you get the broken. So you get the broken, the fannings, and then everything at the bottom, which is just like kind of powder, that's the dust. That is the Bigelow, the Liptons, the you know, because what you're looking for there is intensity, and you get the most for the smallest amount, like the most flavor for the smallest amount.
See, this is why I can't get into like drinking whiskeys or drinking like because I'm fascinated. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna go look for some teas. Now I'm gonna go start looking for some like big like broken leaves now, so that I can get like, I'm like, my chai is just not good enough now, like that I'm getting. I'm like, shoot, this happened when I was not a coffee drinker. I'm still not a coffee drinker, but like understanding the different varieties of coffee and how the profiles kind of come into play, I'm like, oh, like there's so many nuances. And so I knew this was like a thing with tea, like because just the type of like tea that I've seen, like experienced, I like it, but I've never gone into the weeds with it, and like this can be very dangerous now.
It absolutely can. Yeah. And it's like the price point is just low enough that you're like, well, I could buy a whole pantry full of tea, you know, and totally be okay with it.
Okay, so a pantry full of tea, and then what tools do I need to make good tea? So like we have a teapot, we have a cast iron teapot up there. We've never used it. It's decorative right now, but it is an actual functioning one. We can use it.
We got an 18-month-old. Okay, I'm making tea. I'm pouring hot water in a cup, and I'm steeping a bag, and I'm drinking it when it's warm, if I can.
So, like, if we want to make a great cup of tea, what are some of the tools we should probably like look into getting, or for anybody out there who wants to make a great cup of tea?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you don't even really have to have a teapot. That is usually if you want to like have more than one cup, or if you want to share. So for both of you, a teapot would be great if you want to try the same, if you want to drink the same tea. I would say a good, I have this really cute teaspoon that measures a little bit more than 1 teaspoon. So I use a teaspoon, a tea rest. I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
Your favorite mug or cup.
Got those.
If you have a kettle that does temperature, that is quite important.
I've got a gooseneck kettle for brewing and everything.
Oh, great.
And so,
Yeah.
okay.
So if it has like
we got that.
a temperature sensor, yep. And then some good tea. And if you're doing loose leaf teas that aren't in the pyramid bags, like a steeper would be ideal.
Yep, my few of those.
Yeah, and those are yeah. Well, and those come in so many different varieties, right? They have like a little bucket that you could put in. You can have like a little they have like these cute little shapes now. You can have like a little elephant or
They have like
right, and you
little
just
things
like
that hang on the
stick
side
it.
of the cup.
Stick it in.
Yeah, my favorite is actually just a little clamshell one that I think I got at like World Market, but I love it because it's like so simple and
It's so great.
easy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep. And I feel like those are the ones that are most used, right? The novelty ones, you're like, oh, I gotta put it together,
take the top off, and
wash it out. And it's not super fun, right? But the simple ones, you're just like scoop it in. Yeah. So I would say those are like the basics that you would want. So you can use the kettle to boil the water at the temperature that you want it to be at, based on the type of tea that you're making.
Okay. So I'm questioning that, not in the sense of like questioning what you're telling me. I am, if I want like warmer tea, but then I'm confused on how that is going, because I'm again coming from the coffee world. I want it boiling.
Yeah.
So my thought process is I'm making tea, I'm boiling my water, but you're telling me I could potentially, depending on the tea that I'm choosing, I might be doing it completely wrrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, sometimes it'll say too, like steep at this temperature for this many minutes or whatever. Like a lot of times it'll tell you.
Okay.
That's
okay.
it. Yep. So tea leaves can burn.
Okay.
Black
and you
tea,
can taste it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So black tea is the most resilient. Also, different types of herbal teas, or the word is tisane. Excuse me. They are best extracted with boiling. If you do a green tea, ideally about 180 degrees.
Okay.
So I think 180 to 185 degrees for green tea, because it isn't processed as much, and so it doesn't take as hot of water to extract the flavor. And then some white teas are even more delicate, so like 175.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're still talking higher temperature.
It is high, but not quite boiling.
Okay. The other question I have is like, is tea cold brewable? Like besides
Absolutely.
like iced tea kind of thing, but like, because I mostly drink chais, like I was saying, but what is that kind of process? Is it gonna, if I go too long with it, is it gonna just taste bad? Is it gonna like what like?
So, I mean, I would say like with cold brew coffee, ideally, you just kind of do it overnight, right?
Yeah.
Like for the easiest
Option. Yeah.
option, right? I would say like for teas, that's just what I do. Is if I know I'm going to have some cold tea on the go, I will just stick some tea leaves in some water. Or you can put it in these like these disposable bags, like you can either do like the cotton or the nylon ones, and you just throw it in the water, put some cold water in there, close the bottle, put it in the fridge, and then you've got some cold brew tea. And however strong you want it is based on how much tea you put in there.
Oh, it's not by how long you let it sit kind of in the water. It's more about the volume of tea. Okay. That's probably why I've been getting it wrong. Yeah.
And actually that's the same case for hot tea. So if you put more of the tea leaves in your cup of water, you're going to get a stronger flavor. And if you brew it for longer, it gets a little bit tannic and bitter.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of people don't love tea, is because they're like, oh, it's like bitter and tastes very woody, and
they were brewing it wrong.
Yeah, it's the worst when I leave my cup and then I get distracted with Juniper and then I come back and I'm like, dang
yeah, okay.
honey will fix it
Right.
for the most part.
Right.
Like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm still gonna drink it.
Yep.
Okay, I want to come
Don't
back.
waste it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the tea rest, because what's a tea rest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna come back to it.
Yeah. So the tea rest is the timing, right? We're
Okay.
talking about, you can burn leaves, but you can also oversteep leaves. And so if you have a tea rest, you can take the bag out or the steeper out and put it on the tea rest.
Oh, okay.
And then you can like reuse that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do
Yep.
like multiple like cups of tea from
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
Like,
And the
tea
flavors
bag or
change,
tea.
right? Especially if you have the larger size leaves. The primary flavors will come out on the first steep, and then the secondary more, if it's like green tea, it's more vegetal. If it's black tea, it's more woodsy. Those secondary flavors will come out a little bit more, and you do have to steep those a little bit longer because they've already been extracted. But usually by the time you re-steep it, it's the amount of time it takes for you to drink your cup of tea, right? And so they've cooled off. You brew it again, takes a little bit longer, but the flavors are a little bit different. I would not recommend re-steeping dust teas because it's made for intensity, and so that first steep is pretty much all the flavor that you're going to get out of it.
But like if you get a high quality leaf and like a loose leaf tea, you can kind of get some miles out of it, is what you're kind of sharing with us.
So in Chinese culture, when people would brew these larger tea leaves, people would brew them 15 times because it's actually like a social engagement activity, right? So we'd be talking, and as the host, I would pour this tea for you, and you would drink it, and it would be just this like interactive experience that we're having while we're chatting, right? When I see that your cup is empty, I'll re-steep it again, and then I'll pour it out for you guys. It's just like a kind of an art form.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
when we talk about like art form and everything, that's why, I mean, we love having people like you on, because what you do is passion about the art that you are creating, like culinary arts, tea arts, all of these things that you're doing is an art form in itself. It's its own right. But you are focusing on your tea parties more like a British tea, high noon tea party kind of thing. Is high noon? Is that
High
the
noon.
right? Yeah, I was like, wait, that's
Afternoon?
Western. Yeah.
High noon is like,
Oh, that's an idea. We can do like a Western tea party.
Western tea party.
Not a bad idea.
Bring your spurs.
But there's also like Japanese culture has their like
Tea ceremonies.
Tea ceremonies. You're talking about Chinese and their culture. Is there is there a reason the British like teas like kind of culture was like your pool for you a little bit for more of what you do?
Yeah, I think it's because afternoon tea, as it is widely observed throughout the whole world, it's like a consistent thing with tea, right?
Okay.
So it is like always sandwiches, scones, desserts, and tea. In Chinese culture, we also do tea ceremonies, but it's like, this is me just bringing you a drink, and there's not really like necessarily food involved. And because tea is presented during almost every single meal, you can't just say like, oh, this is Chinese afternoon tea, or right? Like there it isn't like an established thing.
Okay.
And so it's whatever you're eating, whatever they're eating, street food, home cooked food, whatever.
Yeah.
It's always just kind of served with tea. So it's like their water. So, yeah.
I wanted to hit on region of teas. Is there a region of like where teas that you like would prefer, like that, like for someone getting started wanting to like look for like teas, what would be like that first kind of place to kind of dip their toes in?
Ooh. Okay. So the most expensive teas I've ever seen are Chinese teas.
Okay.
They have such a tea culture there that you can buy these boxes of individually vacuum sealed like tea leaves.
Oh wow.
And like the box like is crazy expensive. Like I think my dad was saying you could buy like 1 ounce of tea for like $120.
Wow.
And I was like, what kind of like is laced with opium or something? Like what's going on
What kind
here?
of tea
Right?
is
Like,
this?
yeah.
Special tea.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he's like, oh no, this is like red tea from these mountains and blah 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 blah. And so the most expensive tea I've ever seen is from China.
Okay.
I would say very delicious tea for people to start off with, exploring like the different types of maybe a black tea would be India. They make really amazing, actually, chai that we know, the commonly known chai in America, started in India. They have a Darjeeling tea, which has got a really unique flavor as well. And awesome black tea is the black tea that we use for our Arnold Palmers. So like just black tea, one type of tea, but all the different flavors is just like so crazy. Green tea in Japan, I think, is just more interesting because it's got kind of an umami taste. And so they make this tea that's like sencha, which is like flattened and toasted in a pan. And so it kind of gives out this like just like a little bit more like a seaweedy taste to it. There's also genmai cha, which is like a green tea infused. Actually, it's more like mixed with toasted rice.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's really delightful if you've never tried it.
that sounds good.
It's really good. Yeah, and then the commonly known matcha, the powdered, which is like stone ground tea.
So what you're telling me is there's not one region to get me started. I have to go to everywhere, get teas from all over, and just go for it.
Really? Yeah, I think.
Look,
really,
if you want to start down the tea rabbit hole, I'm in full support. I just want to say right now.
Yeah.
Because I hate coffee, so
yeah, she'll
Yeah.
be your
full support.
On this tea world. Yeah. Well, we are coming up on time, and I do appreciate this conversation. I have some thoughts on now that I've got to go do some research and figure out, and I might be pulling the credit card out and ordering a few things.
But it's not expensive unless you get the Chinese.
Unless you get the
I was
Chinese
saying,
one.
Yeah.
let's not jump straight to the most expensive first.
But I do want to make sure if people want to go find more information about what you're doing, potentially book classes, get part of the subscription, or maybe even throw their own tea party. We've got a motorcycle outside the studio right now, but if they want to throw their own tea party, like where can they find more information about what you're doing?
Yeah. So I have a website. It is www.honeyteahive.com. And on there you can subscribe to our newsletter. We tell people about what we're up to. I write a cute little message to everybody. And then I also do like a little tea lesson in there, just like a little freebie. And then you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at honey_tea hive. And that's kind of where we share a lot of tea culture. And also in the stories, we'll share with what's kind of happening and what's going on. But you can always email me at hello@honeyteahive.com, and I can answer your tea questions. And if you even want to host your own tea party, you don't even have to use me for your food, but I can help you. If people have done this before, they just want to pick my brain about it, and I'm happy to share just like the culture of afternoon tea.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming down and having a conversation with us and opening my mind to some new possibilities with tea.
Yay, I'm so glad. Yeah.
So,
Ask me any questions anytime.
I will definitely probably have some questions in the near future. But thanks again for coming down and having the conversation with us. Guys, you know what to do at this point. Like, comment, subscribe. If you know any other great, awesome makers, creators, culinary artists, tea people like Mika here that is doing all kinds of cool stuff. Anybody out there that has a passion for what they make and create, please send them our way. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.